So I'm planning to move to France later this year. All along, the plan was to move in November after my 66th birthday, but lately I've been thinking about moving it up to June, and that's what I want to talk about today. Is there's the whole idea of selling my house in a down market. There's when to take Social Security. There's also the daily expenses here versus the daily expenses over there. And then there's also things that I really can't put a number on. And that's, dealing with all the noise and the craziness that's going on in the USA now. And then not only that, but there's the limbo of not being here and not being there. And so there's a lot to unpack. I hope you'll stick with me. And I think that you may be going through a similar situation either now or perhaps in the near future. And this may be helpful for you too. Let's start with the house. So my move date depends on when I sell my house. If I wait to sell it to say late summer or whatever, I feel like I'm going to lose value. The housing market is trending down now, and I don't know if it's going to make a turn. Obviously, who does know? But I'm afraid I'm going to lose $10,000 to $15,000 if I wait to sell it later this year. And that's a material difference. I don't get that money back. But at the same time, the market tends to do better later in the summer when kids are out of school and families are more inclined to move. And so, right now where I live, it's taken about 150 days to sell a house. Typically, the owner is marking it down, 10 to 15% after about 3 or 4 months. And while I'm not inclined to do that, similarly priced homes and with the same square footage is going to negatively affect the value of my home. And likewise, the longer it stays on the market, it tends to not sell as quickly because people think something may be wrong with it. And so, there's a lot to consider there. I'm not really sure exactly, when to do it, but my inclination is to go ahead and put it on the market now. See what happens. And then, if it does sell quickly, great. But that also triggers other challenges that I have to deal with. And then on top of the house, there's the daily expenses. And granted, I have daily expenses here and there. It's no different. But here is significantly more. Inflation is with groceries and utility bills, and just the cost of living is significantly higher than it is here than it is in France. And so with me moving, I'm also going to get rid of my car. I'm not going to have a car in France. And so between everything, not paying insurance and gasoline and the lower expenses, I stand to save about $1,000 a month. And over a 6-month period of time, you can do the math, that's $5,000 or $6,000. And by the way, this is Callie. She's my sweetheart. She's my little French princess, and she can't wait to move to the south of France. Say hello. Say hello, everybody. Yeah, she doesn't say hi. Anyway, on the other hand, there's Social Security, right? And so I've always been told to wait. Wait as long as I can to take my Social Security. I'll get more every month. And that's true. Every 3 months, it seems like it's about $50 more a month that I get every month. Over 6 months, it's $100. $100 is nothing to sneeze at, right? But then I weigh that against me losing $10,000 to $15,000 on the value of my home, and suddenly I do the math, and it's going to take more than 10 years to recoup that money, and that's not including any of the dividends or the interest that I'm going to make off investing that $10,000 to $15,000. So it could be around 15 years before I recoup that. So doing the math on it, I don't know that it waits, or if it's advantageous financially or financially smart for me to wait 6 months to take my Social Security. All while this is going on, I'm watching the dollar value, and gosh, it seems to be up and down, and mostly down over the last week or two. And last week it was 0.87, then it was 0.83, and now it's 0.85. And I don't know the currency markets. Some people say, oh, it's a great thing that the dollar is being devalued, and others say it's not. But I know for me that if I lose, 5 cents on every dollar, that's 5% of my spending power. And so it's not good for me. And so the way that affects me is, obviously I have no control over that. But it does control, where I'm able to live, right? And so all along I've been looking at Nice. That's the city I want to live. But Nice is a little bit more expensive. So if I wait 6 months or so to see what the market does, I may have a stronger idea of if Nice is affordable for the long term. Otherwise, I may be looking at Montpellier or La Rochelle, and both of them are great. I could easily live in either one, but at the same time, it's just not Nice. And so, I feel like that my opportunities are narrowing more than expanding, and It's not due to anything that I have any control over, and it's really quite frustrating. At the same time, moving to France in June creates its own set of issues because there's short-term housing, and June is prime tourist season, so Airbnbs are much more expensive than they are in November or in the off season. And so going over there, it's like I'm going to be staying in an Airbnb for anywhere from 1 to 3 months, based on however long it takes me to find an apartment. In France, permanent housing is not easy. It's like for every apartment, there's like 8 to 10 people applying for it, and often the preference is given to someone that has a French income, working for a French company with a French contract. Although I'm an American retiree with stable income, often still the preference is given to those that are employed in France. So therefore, it means that I'm going to be paying more for a monthly apartment, and there's a chance that any kind of gains that I'd be making off my reduction of daily expenses, that $1,000 a month, I could totally wipe that out over a 3 month period of time if I can't find a permanent place to live when I get there. Then there's the timeline itself, right? So, the sooner I moved, the sooner I got to sell stuff. And I've got a lot of things I need to get rid of. And I've got some nice items too that I don't want to just like give them away, right? I want to get as much as I can out of them. But I feel like that if I have to sell them quickly, I'm going to have to just take what I can get. And I was actually planning to use the money that I make from the sale of all my stuff to really finance my relocation over to France. And so, that's going to negatively impact if I have to sell things really quickly. Putting things in storage comes up as an option too, but I think it through and I'm like, I don't really want another monthly expense, especially to put things away in storage just so that I don't have to take less than what they're worth, because I think it through, and at some point I'm going to have to return. There's going to be an airfare and the expenses associated with that, and I'm thinking that any amount of money that I might save by waiting is going to be totally discounted or negated by me having to return. Plus, I just want a clean break. I want to get rid of everything, let it go, and just move on to the next chapter of my life. So that's the tension that I'm feeling right now, is that moving sooner can make me more money, but then I'm going to spend more money when I get over there. So it's not a clear answer. I don't know that any kind of savings I may make here, I may lose on the other side over there. And so it doesn't mean that moving sooner is better or moving later is better. And so that's just there's trade-offs to both, and that's what I'm having to look at. With a step back and take a look at everything, the house, the Social Security, the daily expenses, and the timing, it amounts to about 15 grand, right? $15,000, which is a sizable amount of money, but that's the swing, right? 15 grand. But then I keep thinking, why is this weighing so heavily on me? And it's not just the math. It's not just what fits on a spreadsheet. It's the emotional part of it too. I live in Alabama, and I don't really agree with a lot of the ideology here, and everyone here seems to think everything is fine, everything's perfect, and I absolutely don't think everything is fine. There's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of angst in the USA, and it's taken a toll on me. And then there's the other side of, like, I feel like, gosh, am I abandoning my country? I feel guilty in some ways, and I don't think I should, but I do. And so there's a lot of tension that's under the surface that I can't ignore, and I don't know if moving sooner is gonna make it go away, or I do feel like that leaving sooner is gonna take me out of the situation. I'm not going to be dealing on a day-to-day basis with a lot of things that are really causing me emotional stress and tension. So that's where I am. I know I'm leaving. I just don't know when. I'm sort of like in that limbo. I'm neither here nor there, right? And I still have responsibilities here, though. I'm a small business owner. I do photography, and so I don't feel like I'm chasing clients the way that I did before, because I'm sort of winding down. But at the same time, I still have financial responsibilities too, and so I can't just totally quit and just wait my time out. But at the same time, I'm not really working extra hard to build new business, and then also I'm not working really hard on making decisions that seem to be inconsequential, right? And so, I feel like I've already checked out here, but I still have responsibilities, and so I'm doing the bare minimum to get by, and that sort of weighs on me a little bit too. I can't lie. That's not my nature. I'm usually the go-getter, the one that's go get it done and on take care of business kind of thing. So that's where I'm at. I don't have an exact timeline. I don't know if it's going to be June or if it's going to be December, but I feel like that I've got to make a decision. This is starting to affect me in ways that I'm creating it myself, right? So my inclination is that I put the house on the market the end of February, see if it sells. If so, great. That's extra money that I won't have to worry about losing. But I know it's going to create some challenges over in France and maybe a little bit more expense there. But I don't think it's going to offset what I make here. And so this whole thing is about decisions in real time. And I don't think that I'm the only one that's going through this or likely will be in the future. And so that's what I want to share, and that's what this channel is about. It's about having thoughtful and positive discussions about moving abroad or retirement or just big life changes in general. That it's a place where we can share what we're going through and share the challenges and the solutions too. And so hopefully you got something out of this today, and hopefully you'll subscribe and like and share this with other friends or other folks that you may know that's going through something like this, a big change or moving abroad and facing Social Security and housing values and the emotional toll of moving and all that stuff. So thank you for watching. There'll be another video next week. Hopefully you'll tune in then too. Have a good day. Thank you.